Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charleston, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, and entertainment. And we give you guys a fresh perspective on things. Now we see them, and boy, oh boy, we have an episode for you guys here today. So make sure you stick around and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now, as all of you know, yesterday was a crazy day in the sports world, especially in the NBA world. Right? It seems like everyone or people were getting triggered left and right with that Ime Udoka story that broke yesterday or day before yesterday, whatever it was, with the Boston Celtics, right? And I was amongst those people yesterday that got triggered. It got to the point where some of our viewers were like, "Hey man, stop posting so much about this. I've never seen you behave like this." But it was just something that really, just resonated with me, and it really made me want to participate in that conversation yesterday. And I have my own questions about the situation as well. And Stephen A. Smith, speaking of people that got triggered, was also one of those people that has some very, very strong opinions about the way the Boston Celtics handled the situation yesterday on ESPN First Take. So yesterday on his show, there was a segment where he had Malika Andrews on the show. Right. And during that segment, I think she was at the Boston Celtics press conference, or she was covering it or whatever it was. So she came on to kind of give her feedback of what took place in the press conference. And from what I understood, I think somehow she was also able to hear what Stephen A. Smith was saying on TV. So when she came on the show to talk, while she was giving her, her take on things, she tried to call him out on his own show on ESPN First Take. And that's when things kind of got really awkward, between the two of them, because, she took exception to his views on the Ime Udoka situation. So for those of you who missed that exchange yesterday, what we want to do is play it for you guys now. It's a little bit long, but I want you guys to watch it, and then we're going to come back and react to it. So take a listen to this exchange here.
Stephen A., with all due respect, this is not about pointing the finger. Stop. What became apparent to me in this press conference is that we do not have all of the information here. And it was frustrating to me that the Celtics declined to elaborate or to give more specifics about what exactly the rule breaking was that led us to this point. So that I just want to get that out of the way first. But to answer your question, Molly, I think what stood out to me, I think what stood out to me is that Brad Stevens, he was upset. That's what stood out to me about what he termed rampant Twitter BS is the word that he used, that women were unfairly dragged into this within the Celtics organization. You could see that Brad Stevens was visibly upset about this. And I also found that to be gross and unnecessary, that folks were bringing in the names and the images of women that is just not a fact. That was purely speculation. And so to me, that is what stood out. But the Celtics as an organization could have done more. And short of doing more ahead of this yesterday, they could have owned that responsibility in this press conference. I understand that there were legal parameters that they had to operate within for everybody involved. And I appreciate the fact that they brought in outside counsel and did a thorough organization. And I think that that is something that was clearly necessary in this situation. But the fact that it was able to go on all day, the fact that we are sitting here debating whether somebody else should have been suspended or not, we are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women. That is not why we are here.
First of all, let me be very clear. I don't appreciate where you're going with that. I'm not blaming anybody but Ime Udoka. He deserves, the fact of the matter is, I've said he deserved to be fired if they were going to fire him. If you're not going to fire him, then don't fire him. My issue is all of this being publicized. The point that I'm trying to make is just like you're not mentioning. Excuse me. I listened to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. It ain't happening. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I've already said he deserves to be fired, or he deserves to be there and handle it internally and privately. If you're not going to handle it privately, if you're going to publicize it in that fashion, then obviously it provokes everybody wanting to know, okay, well, who are the parties involved? When you have Amina Smith in Boston and other women pointing out the fact that there were women who were wrongly implicated in all of this, it's a disservice to them. I didn't come out with the report about a consensual relationship. I didn't come out with the report ahead of time leaking that they were going to suspend him for the year. They did that. And my point is, considering how pervasive this kind of stuff has existed in professional sports for many years, my whole point is that, make sure that you handle it in the same fashion it has always been handled.
So you heard the exchange between the two of them. Let me tell you some of my observations after seeing Stephen A. Smith and Malika Andrews yesterday. For one, it seems like it's very commonplace in the States right now for people to talk to men any kind of way that they want to. And for men to just sit there and just kind of take it, especially on TV, right? It seems to be commonplace. It was never like this when I was living there a few years ago, right? It almost seems like as if, well, these guys are not human beings, so, we can just talk to them any way we want. It seems like Malika didn't even give it a second thought when she was talking to him on his show, by the way. She was talking to Stephen A. Smith like as if she was talking to some small boy, like some small kid, some little boy. That's how it came across to me. And what I was also able to understand is that it seems like there's a good amount of people out there that are perfectly okay with these type of things happening. Well, I'm not one of them. I am not one of them. Was born and raised in the United States, haven't been there in a while. So a lot of those games, a lot of those buzzwords, buzz terms, things that people ain't working on me. And it's not working on me. Sorry to tell you that some people try to do it in the comment section. You got the wrong guy. Go look for the next guy, not this guy here. Those things just don't work with me. People deserve to be respected, regardless of their gender. That's the first part. Then I want to make crystal clear. If you disagree with that, you can click on the video and go somewhere else. Just go somewhere else. Everyone deserves respect. Number one. Secondly, what was Malika Andrews getting at? What are you getting angry about? What's the issue? He said he didn't like the way it was handled. The Boston Celtics handled the situation. What's your issue? What are you sparking up about? My position was yesterday and now was that if it was in fact consensual, make everyone's identity public. Simple as that. Now, some people say, why would you do that? He's a public. Listen to me. For optics. I don't want it out there that, when people think of workplace, they got some black guys sitting up there. And this is being broadcasted globally. I don't want that. Now, some guys are perfectly fine with them. That's your bloody business. Somebody said to me yesterday, well, the only reason you're taking exception to this is because you're black. My friend, if you didn't take exception to it and it was happening to a white guy, that means something is wrong with you. There's a disconnect between what you think you are and actually who you are. If you don't have enough self-respect in yourself to feel a type of way when people that look like you are being treated a certain way, there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing lacking in me. There's something lacking in you. That's another point that I want to get out there. That's another point I want to get out there. If, to Malika's point, because she was so confused, if the Boston Celtics had made everyone public, meaning the lady and the coach, then people wouldn't be out there speculating, would they? Because we would know who it is. But in your genius way of thinking, you say, well, we're going to protect our identity. Then what the bloody hell do you think is going to happen? What do you think people are going to do? Where do you live? What world do you live in? What do you think people are going to do? If something happens, people are going to want to know what happened. Where do you live? Like, what's the complication about that? I don't understand that. If they didn't want all of this speculation, to Stephen A. Smith's point, they could have kept it in-house. But here's what bothered me. She was acting like as if, how dare you have an opinion that's different from mine? How dare you? Like, how dare you? And my retort to that is, what makes her believe her opinion is the only one that should be taken into consideration? Like, let me understand this. What makes you think that your opinion is the only one that should prevail in that moment? Why? What is it in you that makes you feel that way? Excuse me. You have your opinion. He has his. What's the problem? What's the problem? She was sounding like as if she was an authoritarian in that moment. That's what she was sounding like. When did this become commonplace? Like, when did people start condoning this type of rubbish? Like, when did this happen? I'm very happy that he checked her and let her know that she isn't the boss. Like, she's not his parent talking to him. That's the way she was coming. To me, it was disgusting. Those are my opinions on it. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We'll catch you on the next episode.